even support you taking risks. Let's just agree to how significant you're willing to have the risk be. And if they're pretty significant, are you aware there could be consequences? Okay, and do you accept that if those consequences happen, that's your choice? Are you good with that? And if people can say, yeah, I'm good with that, then I'm like, okay, well, let's give it a try, see what happens. Now, I'll try to sort of get the risk under control, but the reality is we gotta be a little careful here, because I'm not the boss of you. I'm here to foster and support your life and you living your life. And you know what? Sometimes you're gonna screw up, just like I do. And sometimes you're gonna make mistakes that might cost you, like I have. I mean, and one of them involved falling off of a wall when I was a little bit younger and crushing a heel and having a 6-hour surgery, and then being told I may or may not ever be able to run again or walk comfortably, and I'll probably have horrible arthritis, and you might have to, not be able to do a lot of things. So, what the heck? But in the reality of it, I actually was running half marathons until I then do something to my ligament on my knee. I've got to get that worked out. Have crappy teeth. And still I eat things that aren't necessarily good for my teeth. Trust me. That glucose thing they talked about yesterday, oh yeah. I'm also into sodium. I love crunchy. So when we talk about this idea of a gem state model, my goal is to move us away from this line in the sand that people draw in the world of dementia or brain change that says, you're on this line, other people are on that line. And once you cross that line, you don't get to come back over. And as a matter of fact, you'll be at a level. You'll have a certain ability level. And there's nowhere to go but down, which I never thought made a lot of sense. Because I've worked with people living with brain change for a long time. Developmental disabilities, and then people who had head injuries, and then people who had strokes, and then people who are living with dementia. And I got to tell you, nothing stays the same. So a level, that's suspicious. But in the world of OT, there were levels too, only they were called levels, not stages, which they're called stages in the global deterioration model. And so that was Claudia Allen's work. And so the Allen Cognitive Disability System was a six-point scale with all kinds of points within the points. But it still talked more or less about sort of a static thing. So I'm going to have us actually start this session off by listening to someone who lives in the UK. And we're going to take a listen to what she has to say about a change in her brain that has been happening. So we're just going to start it off with Julie Hayden. Okay, so Julie is somebody who's very active in the UK, but here you go. Let's see what she has to say about brain changes.
And I always remember when I was first in nursing, this is going back to the early 1980s, so a long time ago. But back then, what we were told about dementia was it's about being old, it's about memory, and once you have dementia, you're no longer capable of learning new things. And I think, God, I would so love to jump into a time machine and go back to those times and go, you are wrong, you are so wrong. Look at all the new things I've learned since getting my diagnosis.
So that's our friend Julie Hayden. And what she's referring to is the reality of having dementia doesn't mean your brain doesn't keep doing new things. It will. Some of the new things you'll like and some of the new things you won't like. Some of the things you used to do with ease, you'll find you can't do them so well, but sometimes it's just a certain time of day. And some of your old abilities, wow, man, you're still stellar at those. So when we think about this, what the brain change model I designed is about trying to change the culture of care and support. And to talk about people living with neurocognitive degeneration and their families and their friends and their providers and their communities, and being willing to change our perspective. That's what this is really about. So I've said before, we've talked about all brain all brains are going to change. And it's about neurodiversity. And here are the guidelines. I mean, this is what I believe we shouldn't be doing and we should be doing. So if we recognize that dementia is not a disease, it's a disability. Let's put it in a new category. Let's identify it as a disability. It's a disability. And it's not something we're going to fix. It's something we're going to learn about and get curious about and be willing to explore. And we got to recognize that when we close one door, maybe there's a window that opens, or maybe if we can't find a window, we find something that we can actually redesign or remodel. And what we've got to work with is what we've got to work with, which is our expectations, what has to be done, the environment, the possibility of support in that environment, and a change in possible performance abilities and perceptions. But most of all, it's going to have to stay dynamic. So there's no such thing as a level or a stage. There's a state. You're in a brain state at any moment in time. So here's the current model that is real popular. It's so super popular. It's called Global Deterioration Scale, otherwise known as GDS. No cognitive decline, mild cognitive decline, which means you have, and I quote, age-associated memory impairment. There's mild cognitive decline, which means you have mild cognitive impairment. Now, when you get to 4 on this scale, that's the break point. Now, if you have moderate cognitive decline, you have mild dementia. If you have moderately severe cognitive decline, you have moderate dementia. If you have severe cognitive decline, you have moderately severe dementia. And if you have very severe cognitive decline, you have severe dementia. Those are the labels. So the main difference is how bad this decline is going to be, how bad it is. And so if you were to look at what it means to not have cognitive decline, no subjective complaints of memory deficit. And if I do a clinical interview with you, I won't see anything. No memory. Oh, wait, I won't see anything. No. I'm just only looking for memory deficit. So I'm only looking for a memory problem. Then if it's very mild, in other words, age-associated, I'll have subjective complaints of a memory deficit, mostly in the following areas. Forgetting where you've placed a familiar object. Forgetting names of somebody you knew well but you haven't seen in a long time. Screwing up names. No objective evidence of memory deficit in clinic interview, and no objective deficits in employment or social situations. And you have appropriate concern with respect to your symptomatology. I don't know what that means, but apparently everybody else in the world does because they're real quick to label that. So MCI, mild cognitive impairment. And it's age-associated, by the way. So young people shouldn't be experiencing this, or maybe you're getting old fast. Hard to say. Mild cognitive. Here we go. This is the last level you get to be at before you're on the other side of the line. Just saying, don't be careful here. Now, this is where we start calling people patients, because we're looking for whether or not we need to diagnose them with mild cognitive impairment. So now they've already crossed over a little bit, but they aren't too far going yet. We might be able to do something with these people. Maybe we can save them. Maybe we can send them a life. No, maybe we could send them a lifesaver so that we can pull them back. They don't cross that line, because heaven forbid, you don't want them on that deep end of the pool. Once they go to the deep end of the pool, they're going to drown. I can just tell you that. There's nothing we can do to save them. They're going down. Now, how many of you I'm going to quit showing this, because how many of you think this language that I'm using sucks? Good, Lynn. Rachel's on board. Barney, what are you thinking? Do you love this language, or is this suck language?
It's, you're right. It's absolutely the language that's been, I've been hearing for a while, and I haven't taken it personally.
Oh, I love this. So yeah, well, I don't take it personally. I mean, people say that stuff, but they're not talking about me. I mean, yeah. Well, I've laid stuff down and can't find it, and I can't think of people's names sometimes. And if I were to go back to that patient thing, let me just take you through that. Okay, now wait, because I do think we should look at it a little more carefully before I dismiss it, because I do want to be thoughtful. I don't want to be dismissive for no reason. Okay, so let's okay, you guys, get your hand out because I'm going to check you off here and see where you might have things. You have gotten lost when traveling to an unfamiliar location. Raise your finger if that's one that you've done. Sometimes your coworkers become aware that you haven't done as well as you could have done other times. I mean, you sometimes have days where you don't do very well. You have word or name finding deficit that people who know you well are noticing. You have some trouble finding some words sometimes. You can read a passage in a book and retain relatively little material about what you just read. Let's see. Let me see here. Let me do this real quick. Okay, what were the words on that page? Okay, go ahead and say, oh shit, I don't remember. I need to look at it again. That was a lot. What were... We're so full of crap. How about that you will decrease a faculty in remembering the names upon introduction of new people. Well, shit, I couldn't do that before. I have to work on learning new names when I meet people, and I often call people by the wrong name. Ask Drew, not Drew, not Seb. Not Matthew. Matthew, he's the one I work with first. Emilio, Alejandro, let me think. Oh, it's Benji or Braden. Which one was it? I can't remember. I may have lost or misplaced an object of value. Where are those friggin' keys? I know I have them. I laid my paycheck down. I was going to get the book. What did I do with that? Just saying. And concentration deficit may be evident upon clinical testing. Well, I have this program I'm supposed to be doing in 15 minutes. I'm trying to pay attention to what you want me to do, but I have other things happening. So, my favorite. Here's my favorite. Denial becomes manifest in the patient. Denial. Wait a minute. So I'm going to pause there. So is this endearing itself to you? Now let me just say again, this is where we know that something's wrong with somebody, but it's not bad enough to call it dementia yet. But there's something wrong with you if you're doing this. You have mild cognitive impairment. And we don't know how frequently you're doing this. We don't know whether it's impairing your ability to, but it's this labeling. It's all about this labeling business that we love to do. Doesn't have anything to do with how many things are you trying to balance or get done in a day. What's your pattern? What's your baseline? It's just sort of in this moment of time, something's wrong. Something's wrong with you. You're not like I think you should be. Or you're not like you think you should be. So we could go on. I mean, it just gets more and more horrendous as you read through it. And it talks more and more about what's missing and what's not okay and what doesn't make sense. So we have mild dementia, and then we have things that, now y'all, maybe I should put this one up because y'all met a bunch of people yesterday who supposedly, some of them have had their condition for 5, 15, mostly 5 to 10 years. Many people have been living with their dementia for 5 to 10 years. It's been there. So, Lynn, how long have you known that you've had something going on in your brain? Or did they say, or do you think at this point in time?
My mild cognitive impairment has been for over 10 years.
Over 10.
But the official FTD and stopping driving, now that's just been less than 2 years.
Less than 2. And if we looked at everybody who was on yesterday and who's been on today and stuff, it will vary a lot because some people notice themselves early on and are curious about what's happening for me. So denial was not part of their routine. Denial didn't have anything to do with it. They noticed something seemed weird. And so they wanted to get it checked out. This is not normal for me and my brain. Man. And it turns out for people living with dementia or living with neurocognitive change, often we're the ones who would identify, man, I shouldn't have this much trouble doing this. Why am I having so much trouble? And to then be labeled automatically as, well, you're under a lot of stress. You probably should just, worry. You just need to get that down. You know what? You quit it. You're 60 something. You're 70 something. You know what? The problem is your hormones are shifting because you're going through change of life. Oh, you know what's going on? It's probably just this medicine you've been taking. Or it's basically frequently not picking up on what I'm picking up on, which means if we were really looking at where I look at it, we need an environmental or support change, for right now at least, to figure out how do you get to where you can be. It's the best you can be. But we're trying to figure out what's your optimal and what's your range. What's your optimal and what's your range?
Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and you just found our YouTube channel and watched one of our videos. I'm the owner and founder of Positive Approach to Care. Thanks for watching, and if you liked, if you have a comment about, or you would, please share it with people you know. Oh, and if you haven't yet done it, consider subscribing. We'll let you know when the next new video comes out, and you might want to visit our website, www.teepasnow.com, where you'll find other resources as well. See you there.